There we go. Good evening, everyone. What time is it?
Right?
Oh my goodness. It's way too late. That's what happens when you have like 20 Christmas presents to wrap on Christmas Eve. Fun times. He sat there playing with all his toys while I had to wrap all the presents. I think it's funny. I've heard so much this year of husbands mostly saying that they have one person to get a gift for. That's their wife. Their wife, on the other hand, has to get gifts for everybody else. The husband has no idea what everybody's getting. It's kind of a surprise when the kids open the present and they're like, from Mom and Dad. And they're like, thank you, Dad. And Dad's like,
you're welcome. I think.
Oh, goodness.
Just talk for a second.
He's stuffing his face.
We're gonna call this video Wings and Survival Snaring.
Did you want to go over that list we made?
No.
Oh. Well, that was a waste of time.
Yep.
I'm gonna punch you.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop telling you stuff.
Go ahead.
He irritates the crap out of me because he never listens to me. I have to yell at him to get him to listen to me.
Does that teach you anything?
Yeah, listen to me. Maybe if you listened to me more often, stupid stuff wouldn't happen.
Okay. So, we wanted to touch base a little bit on survival snaring. Dun dun dun. But before we go into that, I just want to say, if you're relying on a piece of wire or a piece of 550 cord or cattails that you've weaved together to feed you, if you're relying on those to feed you, I'll just build these deadfall traps and twitch up sticks and snares and you're going to do it out of that stuff, you're failing. You're already wrong. I'm going to show you something that does work, though. It's something we've used on rabbits. And it's just little... It is a snare. But honestly, I wouldn't use it for anything other than cottontails or maybe some squirrels. We've used it on squirrel poles before. And you can't see this really, can you? It's... So, I don't know how to do this where they can see it. Okay. So what I've done is I took a section of wire and, loop one in, like you would a snare, obviously. And you stick it through and then you loop the other end. And this is what we used to do in Texas when we were snaring cottontails. And what I'm basically doing is it's called loading the snare. And the wire's natural tendencies is to return to its original shape, its original coil. So basically what I've done is, I don't know if you've seen that jump from open. Okay, it's kind of, it doesn't take much. Now the point of that is not to slam shut around the rabbit's neck and suffocate him instantly, but it's more of he touches it with his chest right in here and it's too late to back out. That slamming shut like that is not really what's gonna get him. It's preventing him from backing out of it. It's too late. He's already committed to it. What I've done is basically I just kind of, you're going to have to play with it because different wires are going to react differently. But you just kind of make your smaller loop, I don't know. For cottontails, I like to do about a silver dollar. Like, that's the way it would stay until it's ready to go out into the trail. Just like that. That looks really huge. But when I get ready to set it, I'll, easily, gently roll it back. And you're going to have to make a little kink in it. You don't want any kinks between, like, how do I say this? So, you don't want, alright, so if you open it up, you don't want any kinks from where it's open and where it's going to be closing. I don't know if that makes sense or not. You are going to have a little bit of a kink where you're locking it open, kind of like a trigger area. See? So I've got a little bit of a hump, not much, but just enough to like stop it from closing. See, if I try to open it without it hitting that kink, it goes shut again. And it won't stay open all the way unless it's got that little bit of a hump. I'm talking a finer than a frog hair split 4 ways hump. You're not from Oklahoma. You don't understand that. So, yeah, just, man, I wish I could zoom in enough for you to see that. I don't know if you can kind of see that right there. Can you see that, babe, on the camera?
Yeah.
It doesn't take much. Just something to see. That's all it takes. Now, the trick is you have to keep this open enough on rabbits for their head and their ears to get through. So, maybe your fist. I mean, that looks right to me. I've always just kind of eyeballed it. Unless you're out chasing jackrabbits when, they got them big old freaking twin tower ears. But obviously then you would need a bigger loop. But yeah, it's just, and you're going to have to keep it a little bit above the ground level. You want their head to go through, and you want that wire to hit them right here. And as soon as they bump it, it's not tight around their neck, but it's snug enough that they're not going to be able to back out of it. And when they do try to back out of it, it's just going to tighten up a little more. Another thing with using these is, if you are using them, check them often. How many times did we have snares tripped and half a rabbit in it?
I can't. There was many times.
Many
More
times.
often, we would find them half gone, than finding a whole one.
Yeah. So check them often. I don't mean like set it and come back the next morning. Like often. And the main thing about running these is set on sign. Find you some little rat trails through the thickets and thorn bushes and weeds and where the grass is parted just a little bit. Or if you're walking along and you see the grass tunnel like a little bit, like, I'm trying to do, like, like that. Then, you've got something smaller size running through there. The point of this whole extra wire is the snare is supposed to support itself. You don't want sticks in here holding the... Shit, I set it off. You don't want sticks in here holding this up because then they're in the way. They're not going... This loop is not going to close. And that's the problem with trying to use 550 cord is the cord doesn't support itself. So you have to prop it up. And then if you have to prop it up, it won't shut all the way because you have all those twigs and sticks and everything in the way. And there's more moving parts than you need. So, just cheap safety wire. I don't know if you know what that is. Just something
Another
you can.
thing, and I think it's maybe just a little bit thinner than this. They sell a. Get that out of my face.
I wasn't done.
Oh, go.
I'm already eating pizza now.
They sell Survivor cord that has snare wire in it.
No, that stuff was crap.
Was it?
That was crap.
Okay, then don't do that.
Titan
I did
survival
not know this.
cord is not as cracked up as it's meant to be. It was the fire starter and wax jute. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Having the fishing line in it, okay, that's a little bit of a bonus. Not much. I mean, I can buy
You eat your kid's pizza.
150 yards, 200 yards, 300 yards of 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 pound tests for $2. It's light. Like, I don't need it in my 550 cord. The snare wire that was in it, don't waste your time. It was so brittle. Number one, it's copper, so it's obviously gonna be weak. It was so brittle that I tried tying. I tried doing this with it. I couldn't get one loop in it because it would just break, and then you try twisting it, break.
Definitely break with anything other.
And it would break with anything. And this stuff is not gonna hold anything bigger than a rabbit and squirrels. Even fox squirrels are gonna be tough to keep because they're just gonna work this over. What I was talking about with this extra length of wire to support itself. The reason I done it like this is I can cut me a stick about the size of a quarter and sharpen on one end of it, and you stick the point of it in this loop. Can you kind of see that? And you shove this in the ground. And you use your trusty hatchet, the back side of it, and you drive that stake in the ground until your loop is until you're comfortable with the depth of the stake, for one, until that loop, inch and a half, maybe 2 inches, somewhere in there, off the ground. I mean, obviously, if you got soft dirt, you can either make this longer and drive a longer stick in it, in the ground, or you can just wire it off the tree. Either way, doesn't matter. But that's how I do it. And on squirrels, what I like to do is I like to make 4 or 5 of these suckers, and about the same size hole, a little smaller because they don't have them big old ears. And you just, I'll try to show you how I load it. So I see how I've got that tightened down quite a bit, and it's got a natural curve. There's no kinks in it. Just kind of open it up gently and get it over that hump. And then you're going to take, can you hold that for me? Squirrels love to run on logs, sideways logs, leaning logs. If they're on the ground and they need to get the tray, they would, somehow, some way their mind says run up this log that's sloped instead of up the side of the tree. So what you can do is you make 4 or 5 of these and you put them, can you hold this out here where people can see it? And you just put these, every couple feet. And the reason I say every couple feet is if you have 4 of them, the first squirrel comes in, he hits the snare, he falls off the log, he's expired. He's out of the way. He didn't reach the second snare, so the second snare is still set. Second squirrel comes along. He hits the snare, he flops around, he falls off, he's expired. he didn't hit the third snare. The third snare is still set, and so forth. Another thing you can do is, if you have a really bad fox or coyote problem, which they will get to your squirrels if they're close enough to the ground, is you can put this log, stick, whatever limb, between two trees, and they can run it back and forth. And the same thing, if they get to the one end, one snare, they'll fall off and they won't reach the second snare. That leaves you 4 or however many snares still up to catch more than one at a time. And what we like to do was, I would put 4 or 5 snares on this sideways log between two trees that I know it's got a lot of activity, and I'll put a glob of peanut butter between each one. And if you got birdseed, a little bit of birdseed in that peanut butter, and the squirrel would, oh snap, squirrel crack, and then, whatever, ha ha ha. But anyways, so they would come down, run this pole, try to get to that peanut butter and stuff. They hit the snare, and they do their thing. They're expired. They're hanging. Okay, you've still got 4 more snares, and you've got bait between each one. Yes, this one in the end is opened up, but that's okay, because he's going to get to that one, and he's going to want some more. So he's going to run through the next snare to get some more of that bait. He's going to do his thing, fall off, and so forth, all the way down. And I like that because they can come from either side. They do what they need to do. They get out of the way, so you still have room for more. However many snares you have, you could have that many at one time. Not saying you will, but you can. It's a lot nicer to check your snare pole, your traps, and have multiples, several, at one time, than it is to just do all this work for one. Right? What else do you want to say? But again, if you're relying on this to feed you, you done screwed up. It's too late. This is not going to support your family. You need something else. But if this is all you have, you can get a meal or two out of it. But don't expect to prosper off of 2 foot of wire. One more thing is, this is not going to be used more than once. You catch a rabbit in it, it's done. It's got kinks in it, it's been worked out. You don't want to take a chance on, even if you do get the kinks out of it and it coils right, you don't want to take a chance on this wire being weakened and you catch another rabbit in it and he just runs off with it. So, one and done. Anything you want to add? That was a really long video that was supposed to be really short. Where's that list? We'll do a few of them. Oh, this right here, if you're wondering, is my most used tool on the trap line. Just a little 18-ounce DeWalt hatchet. I think it was 18 ounces.
I'm not sure what you did with that list.
20 ounces. I don't know. But number 1, set on sign. Number 2, take your time, do it right. Don't half-ass it. Don't, well, it could work if it, no. If it could work, do it again. You want it to work for sure, no questions. What else? I know you got something to say.
Don't be afraid to fail.
Don't be afraid to fail, because you're not going to catch something at every time.
And definitely don't be scared to change what you're doing.
Right. Don't be afraid to try something new. If this is not cutting it, do something different. Figure it out. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Quit that I can't bull crap. It's not working, I guess I'm going to starve. Well, then you probably deserve to starve. Figure it out. Nobody's going to do it for you.
You got to study what they're doing.
Study. Pay attention. Learn your target species habitats. What? First
habits,
of all,
not habitats. Well, habitat too, but habits
I meant
too.
habitats, but yeah, habits too. Um, the two main things that are going to drive a wild species are food and sex. You learn when they mate, you've got kind of a upper hand. You can use that against them. Two, food. You can use that against them too, because in cold weather like we're getting tonight, last night, the next few days, you could damn well bet I'm going to be using it against them. They're going to be hungry. So all of this free food that's out laying around is going to work for something. I don't know what, but it's going to work for something. When animals get desperate, their instincts of, no, this is too easy, don't work as well. Wouldn't you say?
Mm-hmm. Learn from other trappers. Learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Videos on YouTube, not other than ours. I wouldn't just go off of ours. But there's so many, and it's not even just about trapping. There's so many videos out there to show you how to do things. If you're not sure about it, or if you'd like, I can't tell you how, he knows how to set his traps. He sits there for hours still and watches videos of other trappers doing their thing because, hey, he might learn some way else how to do something that might be so much easier or so much better than what he's trying to do, and he'll go out and he'll do it.
Let me give you an example. I just told you about the squirrel pole. I was talking to our fur buyer, and he's an older gentleman, and he's been in the fur business for 40 years. He's in his 60s, late 60s, early 70s, somewhere in there. We were talking about trapping squirrels and using 110 conibear traps, body gripping traps, and bird seed and stuff. And I told him about how we used to do the squirrel pole with a little bit of snare wire, or not even snare wire, just like wire, safety wire, and peanut butter on those running sticks. And he had never heard of that, but when I explained it to him, he agreed with me that it doesn't not work. Obviously it worked. I've done it. But he had never thought of that, and he's 60, 70 years old. So you can always learn and improve something. I guess that's the trick, is you try to learn from your mistakes and learn something from somebody else all the time, every day. If I was setting these snares and I kept getting body catches, like I was catching them around the ribs or around the back legs or something, and they weren't dead, and they were just, or my snares were running off, well, maybe I'm catching them in a wrong spot. Maybe I need to make that loop a little closer to the ground so those front feet slide under it. Or maybe I've got my loop too big. Maybe I'm catching them and something's carrying them off. I don't know. That's when you would start looking at the ground and looking for the story Mother Nature has to tell. What else?
That's all I can think of.
So, moral of the story, get you a roll of wire and go play with it. Just try it. See what you think. See what works for you and see what doesn't. And number 2, get you a 20-ounce DeWalt hatchet. Seriously though, I use this more than anything else in a day's time. More than my pocket knife. More than my hammer, driver, stake driver. More than the traps. More than my pistol. More than anything, I use this because it has so many uses. I cut stakes with it. I cut brush with it. if I need guide sticks, something to kind of funnel in something to my traps. If I need to drive a stake through a piece of meat in the ground so rats can't take it off, I cut the steak with this, sharpen one end of it with that fancy dancy edge that I put on there, and just kind of sharpen it out and then turn it around and drive it in the ground. Yeah. Get you some wire and a hatchet. Bye.